This segment is sponsored by the law offices of Dr. David L. Carrier. When a family receives a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia, the next steps can be overwhelming. Here to help, David Carrier joins us now to talk about planning for the future. Welcome.
You know, Brittany, I flunked out of pre-med at Notre Dame, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
But now you're making me a doctor. I appreciate that. That's great.
Well,
They threw me out.
Really excited to talk about this because this is something that has impacted my family. My grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and just seeing, you know, my family members trying to deal with all this stuff and figure everything out, it's very overwhelming.
Right, it really is. You know, we just had the Walk to End Alzheimer's. That was just a couple weeks ago. There's another one coming up in Holland. We deal with families all the time who, when confronted with the diagnosis, now some people take action, some people do give us a call or they call the Alzheimer's, but you know there's 180,000 families right now suffering from Alzheimer's in Michigan.
Well, and that's kind of what these guys are.
Well, the idea is you can ignore them. You know, you can ignore these characters. I wouldn't tell you not to, but there are things that you can do. There is effective action. And, you know, why do people tend to hunker down one foot in front of the other? They do that a lot, but where we come in is we do the workshops every week. There's all kinds of outreach that we do. And I think the thing is, don't get frozen when the dragons show up, when you get the diagnosis, when you're thinking about these issues. That's not the time to freeze, that's the time to act.
Yeah, well, and I know that there's a lot of resources that you guys have available so that when you do get that diagnosis, it's not something you have to wait on. You can get started on this kind of stuff right now even.
Well, you can. A lot of our folks, most of the families that we serve are doing the pre-plan.
Okay.
Now, what makes them so special? Why is it that they're acting before the crisis, before the dragon shows up in the front yard? They're already acting.
Now, is this before the diagnosis, or is this before things get really bad?
Yeah, this is just planning.
Okay.
This is just.
So you can do this at any time. Then.
Anytime you want, yeah. And that's who most of our folks. That's what most of our folks are doing. Of course, it's people who, you know, and one of the worst things about people who are in crisis is that they tend, as I say, to put one foot in front of the other. They tend to deal with today's crisis, and then it's people like you. It's like the grandkids sometimes. It's the kids who really move the parents, move the grandparents to say, hey, you don't have to keep going until the dragon catches up to you.
Yeah.
You know, we can recognize that, we can take effective action. And so it works, it really works both ways. There's never a point at which we can't help. You know, so even if you've let it go, you know, and there are people, I know there are people watching the show right now who are like, oh, there's nothing
that would have been nice
do.
3 years ago, or, you know, whatever.
But it's not that way. It's not that, look, two great times to plant a tree, 20 years ago and this afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you get started now, right, then we can take effective action. And that's why we do the workshops, because, you know, going to lawyers is scary, and there's no obligation with us. There's no fee to come to a workshop, to explore what your options are, to figure out what can you do.
Yeah.
And yet, like I say, I'm not going to tell you you should do it. You can ignore these characters until they eat you out of house and home.
Well, and I know, you know, getting to some of these workshops and just starting to plan ahead is so important. And you guys have a lot of different locations, you make it really easy for people to get in touch with you guys.
So important because, you know, this is not, hey, the circus came to town. You know, there's people who do dinner seminars and, oh, you know, wait till I get my chicken dinner to start some. We don't do it like that. It's every single week in Grand Rapids, and then we alternate weeks in Portage, in Holland, in Norton Shores. And now we're doing outreach to Stanton, to Greenville, different places. Go to the website, davidcarrierlaw.com, and that's where you're going to see where all the workshops are.
Yes.
Really easy to sign up.
Wonderful. We'll want to make sure you get all the information about this. You can learn more about the Life Plan workshops offered by David and his team. Now, again, we put a link on our website for their website. Just go to WZZM13.com under the exchange. Thanks for being here.